What's up everybody? This is going to be a part 2 on how to mix skin tones. In the previous video, I showed you guys how to mix lighter skin tones. In this one, I'm going to show you how to mix darker skin tones and my approach to this. Okay, so let me show you guys the colors that we're going to be using. First off, burnt umber. Now this is different than raw umber because it has a reddish tint to it, which raw umber has a more brownish tint to it. So we're going to be using this one. Next up, we got quinacridone red. Now, typically I use CAD red medium, but I'm going to try something a bit different today. And this should be a bit more vibrant, I'm guessing, but not too bright compared to CAD red. So we're going to give this a test. Next, we got ultramarine blue. Then we got CAD yellow medium. Then we have our titanium white. Now, working off our reference, we can see that the biggest portion of this painting when it comes to the figure is the back. So we're going to be looking at all the different tones in the back and we're going to try to match that. First off, we're going to start with the darkest tone and work our way to the lightest. So for the dark tone, I start off with my burnt umber. Sorry, I forgot the name for a minute. Then I just take a bit of the ultramarine. Then I'm going to add some of the red to it. So there we have, I'm going to say this is going to be our second darkest color. For our darkest color, we're just going to mix the umber again with some ultramarine. And this is going to act almost like a black. We're going to add a bit more umber to it, just to tint it more on the brownish side. All right, so this now will be our darkest color for our shadows. Next, we're gonna mix where I have number 3 marked. So it's a bit on the reddish side, but it's still pretty dark. So we're just gonna go with the same combination again. Get some of the red in there. We're gonna put a lot more red in this time. Then I'm just gonna add just a touch of yellow and see what happens. So there we have our third color. So as you can see, it goes dark, a bit less dark, and then we start getting into the lighter tones from here. So before I get into the brightest highlighted portion of the portrait, I'm gonna go a mid-tone between the two. So I'm gonna start off again with the umber and then move from there. Now we just want a touch, see, just a little bit of the ultramarine, because keep in mind, when you mix an even ratio of these, you're going to get a black or just a really dark shade. That's not what we want for this tone that we're mixing. I'm going to add a good amount of yellow. And I'm going to add a good amount of the red. Let's add a bit more yellow. Now we're going to bring them all together. You know what? We're going to add a bit of titanium white, just a touch. The thing with titanium white is that it's very strong, so it's always best to start off with a little bit and then move your way up. We're going to add a bit more. And there we have our tone before we get to our lightest one. All right, now it's time to mix our lightest tone. Keep in mind this light tone, it's still gonna have a tint of color to it. It's not just gonna be straight out white. That's not what we want for this dark skin tone. So I'm gonna start off with the umber. Then I'm gonna go in with the yellow. Now I'm gonna go in with the red. Now see, we have a nice chocolatey color. So we need it to be a bit more light. So obviously we're gonna add some titanium white to the mix, and then we'll add more as we go along to match what we need. So there we have our highlight, and we're gonna add it right there. Before I get into my actual painting, one thing I like to do is test out my mix. So here I have a sphere, and I'm just gonna start from my darkest to my lightest and see how all of these colors come together. Now when you're working, it's important to still keep these colors handy. And the reason why is you might put a color down on the canvas and you might feel it's not exactly what you want. So now you can tint it with these colors and add more to the mix. So even with here with the highlight, like I can add a bit of the highlight, but I still need it to be a bit more bright. So I can add some titanium white directly on, and then there we go. We have exactly what we need. So there you have it, guys, how to mix dark skin tones. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.